Well, Tuesday has been mostly sunny across central Oregon. It's also been hot. Once again, temperatures topped out in the mid to upper 90s, of some 80s on the map, and there were a few spots that got close to triple digits, just not quite there. Hey everyone, I'm Darrell Winninger, the Chief Meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News, and we're about to do a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. And that's because bigger changes are expected through the next 24 hours. Not only do we continue to get even more heat across the high desert, but we also have some Pacific moisture that's streaming into the region, and that coupled with the heat equals thunderstorm fuel. We're going to talk all about that and everything else you need to know about this rest of this week and this weekend coming up here through the next several minutes. So buckle up, it's going to be fun. We're going to start with what it looks like right here and right now. Across central Oregon, we have more sunshine than cloud cover, and there have been a couple spots where a few showers have been showing up on radar, but not all of that actually reaching the ground. And from each one of these cameras looking in a different direction, it pretty much paints a picture of tons of sunshine, a little bit of haze, and some clouds. So when we look at satellite and radar, what we have been seeing is earlier today, there were a few sprinkles rolling through the high desert. I know when I was hiking Pilot Butte earlier today, we're talking during the 9 o'clock hour, there were a few sprinkles, but it was nothing to be concerned about. And that's been what it's been happening through the rest of this afternoon. Where it's been showing up on radar, it's just been a few sprinkles. But let's take a tour. Let's start off with just south of Baker City. There has been a cluster of thunderstorms that's been developing and moving to the east and the northeast very slowly. Now, these have been producing some frequent lightning strikes, but it looks like in the last 15 to 30 minutes, it's been calming down. Now, going to Lake County, just north of Lakeview, there has been a light thunderstorm that's also working its way to the northeast, and some additional thunderstorm activity a little further to the south over North California and Nevada. But as that's rolling into the state, it's starting to wrap up. So we still have this chance of showers, the potential for a few light thunderstorms, but ultimately across the state, we've had a total of 169 lightning strikes. Most of that has been centered right just to the south of Baker City. And if you remember, this is about where there is a series of fires, 3 different fires burning in that area. And because of this, they've been getting a little bit of rain, but also some lightning strikes across the area. And like I said, the bulk of it has been there. That's where we have 110 lightning strikes. Getting down into Lake County and even into California and Nevada, 257, but just over Oregon, the Oregon portion of that, it's only 64 lightning strikes, and some of that's for the northeast. Okay, there you go, 31. And so there's not a lot of lightning activity going on there, but it is something that we're continuing to track. Also, however, if we just look at some of the conditions surrounding the haze in the air, that haze is mostly smoke coming from the East Evans Creek fire just north of Medford. Now, what's been happening each day is winds swing around to the south to start the day off. That pushes that smoke to north, just on the west side of the Cascades. And as winds swing around to the northwest and the west, through our afternoon, that pushes the smoke over the Cascades. We also have a little bit of smoke coming off the Olive Butte, Salmon, and Anthony fire. That's right around where we had that thunderstorm activity. Oops, it's not attached to the map, but that's right around where that thunderstorm activity was earlier this afternoon. And the good news about that is there was some much needed rain associated with it. But when we go ahead and just focus on, I'm going to do one more graphic before we wrap this portion up and go to the other satellite imagery. We do still have some reduced air quality. It's good to moderate for most of the sensors that are showing up on the map here. And these are all from eSpace. And all those data points show that air quality is not really too poorly impacted because of this smoke. However, that is going to be changing through tonight. Even when you throw in the DEQ hourly average, still good to moderate air quality. So let's shift gears. Let's start talking about where we have some cloud development and where there's some thunderstorm activity. And I want everybody to just focus on this map right now. There's a couple things that we're watching. Number one, there's a low just offshore. Number two, there's a ridge of high pressure over the Four Corners region. If we back out and take a better look at this, what we're seeing is that there is some subtropical moisture, which means this moisture is coming from just north of the tropics right into the Pacific Northwest. It's almost a conveyor belt pulling that moisture in. With that low off to the west and a high off to the east, the circulations of each one of those features just pushes that moisture right into the Pacific Northwest. This is the reason why heat is meeting moisture over central Oregon. And when we focus in a little bit, and you can see where there's another ridge of high pressure further out over the Pacific Ocean. But when we dive in and take a closer look, winds aren't too strong, and we know that because of these isobars right along the coast. They're tightly stacked to each other, and that means gusty conditions over there. But for Central Oregon, not too bad at all. What we are seeing for the high desert is some cloud development that is, and some of these are producing thunderstorms. Now, the closest severe weather is well over Montana. For eastern Oregon and most of Idaho, it's just some scattered thunderstorms. Now, by tomorrow, that backtracks a little bit, and we're expecting to get the potential for some thunderstorms, some of it dry thunderstorms. And dry thunderstorms is a term that you can't take literally. Each thunderstorm is going to bring some precipitation, but this is going to be what we refer to as a low precipitation thunderstorm, meaning that we could get abundant lightning strikes in areas that aren't receiving a lot of rain. So fire danger is going to be elevated, and this potential for dry thunderstorms is going to last 2 days, today and tomorrow. So we already talked about today's chance of thunderstorm activity. Let's talk about Wednesday, because Wednesday we have this chance of thunderstorms that could become a little bit more scattered than today. And that looks like it could be setting up during the evening hours. So by tomorrow morning, we catch some clearing. And then by the afternoon, a few thunderstorm cells pop up on radar. Now, at first, the showers and thunderstorms that we see on radar tomorrow aren't going to be reaching the ground. They're going to be virga, evaporating before it reaches the surface. Then, as the column starts to saturate, some of these showers, some of these thunderstorms reach a surface. And then through the rest of the evening, more thunderstorms are expected. But let's go through that a little bit slower. Freeze frame at 3 p.m. We could even back up. So starting at 1 to 2 p.m. tomorrow, we start to see some convection. This development leads to the potential of some isolated thunderstorms. And yes, I'm rocking this back and forth so we can really see how the picture's being painted. By the afternoon, getting into the evening hours, the bulk of the thunderstorm activity gets up to the 126 quarter. Then more thunderstorms develop south of central Oregon. We're talking Klamath County on the east slopes of the Cascades, coming up through Chiloquin, Crescent, Chemolt, coming up through that entire area and into southern Deschutes County. And so it looks like a couple waves of thunderstorm activity are expected. And then by the rest of Wednesday night, we start to clear out. By Thursday, it's mostly sunshine. We're going to have a couple different forecast models in this, so I'm going to go ahead and go past that. I really wanted to focus on what's happening during the next 24 hours. So today, there was that low risk of thunderstorm activity. By tomorrow, a better chance of thunderstorm activity. We're just not looking at the potential of severe weather in the northeastern corner of the map. That marginal risk falls off the map. And then by Thursday, there's a very low chance of thunderstorms for central Oregon. Most of that happens over eastern Oregon, getting into Idaho. But because of this thunderstorm risk, I'm really focusing on just how dry it is across the high desert. Even today, very dry, almost critically dry, with relative humidity values in the teens, near the single digits, and some 20s on the map. Meanwhile, look at this. In the last 24 hours, we topped out at 102 in Warm Springs. A lot of 90s on the map. 88 in Sun River is a high, and 89 in Lapine. That rhymed. Okay, so right now we still have 102 in Warm Springs, a lot of 90s on the map and a lot of 80s as well. And in the last 24 hours, we've seen fairly consistent conditions. Temps are running between 4 degrees cooler and 3 degrees warmer than they were this time yesterday. So that's not too much of a change. Pretty much where we've been getting more cloud cover, it hasn't been getting as hotter. Where we've been getting tons of a direct sunshine, it is getting hotter. And of course, Warm Springs at 102 yesterday, it reached 100. Now, temperatures here through this evening stay warm. By tonight, it gets mild, and then by tomorrow, we heat up quickly once again. Remember, through the day Wednesday, we start off with more sunshine, clouds increase during the midday hours, then our chance of thunderstorms. That PM thunderstorm potential is expected with highs in the 90s. Now, UV intensity forecast isn't dipping down too much because of the in and out cloud cover, but all said and done, most of us are going to get at least some sprinkles. Some of us, though, don't even get wet. We'll come back to this one. So roller coaster temperatures are expected. Tomorrow, we're once again bringing the heat. We have that chance of PM thunderstorms. Then on the backside of this week's system, this weak wave of moisture, we catch more sunshine, high pressure rebuilds, and our next heating trend begins. And so we're back into the 90s by this weekend. Now, the long range, this isn't the long range forecast model, pardon me. This is just the regular forecast model we typically use on air. And this one shows that through the next couple of hours, a few sprinkles at best, And then by tomorrow, we catch that chance of some thunderstorms becoming scattered. And as quickly as it develops, it moves out of here. Notice that this forecast model wasn't intense as the high resolution one I was showing earlier. But then by Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, more sunshine than clouds are expected across Central Oregon. Let's real quickly look at the long range forecast model. Not as high of resolution because it goes further out into the future. But this one shows a few sprinkles in the next 12 to 18 hours. By Wednesday afternoon and evening, some showers, maybe some thunderstorms. But this one's even downplaying what we've been seeing. We still carry the potential of thunderstorm activity. It just doesn't look like it's going to be widespread or very significant. However, some of the cells could produce abundant lightning strikes. Now, by Thursday, we get the clearing. By Friday, we have tons of sunshine, and we start to heat back up, and that just continues through Saturday. By Sunday, a little extra cloud cover. By Monday, more clouds. A low chance of a few sprinkles, and by Tuesday, maybe a thunderstorm or two. So between now and Friday at 11 p.m., some of us don't even get wet, but scattered showers and some thunderstorms are expected. By this time next week, a little bit more on the map. However, I think that forecast model is just honing in a little bit more on what's expected through the next 18 hours. So when it comes to winds, some of these gusts up to 25 miles per hour, that's not too bad. Actual wind speeds are more like 5 to 15 miles per hour, still coming out of the west and northwest, still carrying a little bit of that smoke over the crest of the Cascades. And it's going to be a little breezy at times through the next hour or two, then back to a gentle breeze. Then Wednesday and Thursday, breezy at times. If thunderstorm activity develops, where it develops, I should say, that's where winds are going to be their strongest. That's where we have that chance of 35 mile per hour wind gusts plus. So for tonight, expect 50s with a few 40s and 60s out there. By Wednesday, we're talking 80s, some 90s, that potential of thunderstorm activity, and then we clear back out on Thursday. Now, Thursday's still going to be gusty at times, but under more sunshine, high pressure calms those winds and brings our next heating trend by this weekend right into next week, right into our next chance of some showers with a few thunderstorms. So just to recap for you, our weather headlines for this Tuesday, July 14th, heat meets moisture over the high desert through the next 18 hours. Some scattered thunderstorms are expected by tomorrow afternoon, and high pressure resumes on Thursday. As of right now, it's mostly clear. The few sprinkles we had earlier far off to our northeast, and it looks like in the last half hour, we've started to see a little bit of development. I don't even think all that is reaching the ground, but that's some of the afternoon convection I was talking about. That could end up being a light thunderstorm. Speaking of thunderstorms, there is one well to the north of Lakeview, south of Christmas Valley, and it's just producing a little bit of lightning. So if you're out in Christmas Valley, you look to the south, you could see that. It's just not a very tall or strong thunderstorm. But we are going to continue to track everything we see on the radar here and more. So join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest in headlines and your most reliable forecast again at 6. And that's at ABC and CBS. Then at 7 on CBS, at 11 on ABC and CBS. We'll see you then.